Welcome everybody to Dead Film Critics Society as always. But today we are in person. We are also outdoors. I'll practice social distancing a little bit, but we're also both vaccinated now, which is great. You should be expecting to see a few more of these in the future. It's great to actually have our first in-person episode since we were doing this all by remote,
Yeah, exactly. No technical difficulties today, thank goodness for that.
Well, I mean, we still have to record this all.
I know, but at least it won't be any
it won't be.
issues.
Yeah, it won't be because of Wi-Fi internet connection issues.
Yeah.
We will be easily hearing each other because we're right in person.
Exactly.
As always, Aiden, let's just start off with our trivia question.
Okay.
Do you want to go with yours first?
Yes, I do. Okay, so Promising Young Woman. Okay, obviously stars Carey Mulligan, and we know that The Woman in the Window is directed by Joe Wright. So I want to ask you, what is the connection between that director and that actress?
I know they're both British. That's one thing I know for sure.
There's a special connection there. It's not just because they're British.
Yeah, I assume so.
Yes.
I'm thinking you're maybe leaning towards the idea that they're family in some way, but I wouldn't know how. I don't know.
Okay.
I'll just say they're cousins, but I don't know.
That is not
cousins.
correct. At least from what I understand. But the connection I was looking for was that Carey Mulligan was in Pride and Prejudice, and that was a Joe Wright film, and that was her acting debut. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because I think that was also Joe Wright's directorial debut, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I believe
that's
it was.
interesting. They both did their debuts and they're doing it together. So that's interesting. Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
My trivia question for you,
Yes.
Aiden, is it's also about Promising Young Woman, but this time it's about the director Emerald Fennell.
Yes.
Who has also dabbled in acting a good amount before.
Really? Okay.
Directing this film. This was Promising Young Woman was her directorial debut, and I was asking you which Emmy-winning show has she been on?
Ooh.
And she's kind of most known for. I think Promising Woman might take that title now, but
I'm probably gonna feel stupid because I honestly didn't know a lot about her until this film came out. To be honest, I mean, is it like a British show or American show?
It's a British show.
Okay, it's not Fleabag, is it?
No,
that's not it.
She might have made appearances on that. I'm not sure, but I know what she was most famous for. She was on The Crown, playing the character of Camilla Parker Bowles, British Duchess.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I did not know that. I've actually never seen The Crown, to be honest. I mean...
Yeah, I've only seen the first episode, and I think it was good. I'm definitely probably going to watch in the future, but, I mean, there's a lot of other TV shows that kind of prioritized ahead of it.
Yeah, no, fair enough.
Yeah, let's get into our news segment now.
Okay.
I got a good amount, since obviously we're only doing it once a week now.
Yes.
Yep. I think we'll just do that no matter what. Even if we have a guest or not, we'll just, that way we have a healthier news section.
Exactly.
We got a bird behind us. Yeah, cool. Anyways, so I know you haven't seen this show yet, but there's been a Rick and Morty spin-off series ordered.
Okay.
I believe, along with that's involving. Sorry, bad wording there from my notes. Creator Dan Harmon, who's also behind Community, I'm sure you know.
Yes.
Is also making a new show himself. It's going to be another animated show. It was ordered by Fox and is involved cryptocurrency. There's not a lot of details about. I was a little bit confused at how cryptocurrency plays into it. Whether that's how they're going to be some of the basis of the show, or if that's going to be somehow involved in the marketing or something like that.
Yep.
But sounds very interesting, and I think he's a pretty good showrunner. Rick and Morty and Community are both very top tier shows for me. I love those a lot, and I'm very interested to see what he does next. And I'm also kind of interested to see a Rick and Morty spin-off series.
Yeah, I would love to watch that show, to be honest. I've heard nothing but good things about it.
Yeah, you should for sure watch it.
I keep seeing memes from it as well, so
the memes are a bit much. I mean, a good amount of the fan base is kind of toxic, but it is a genuinely good show.
Yeah. It's funny how some of the best media has terrible fan bases.
I mean, obviously you can kind of see how the content in Rick and Morty can lead to the kind of toxic fan base that it has and all the memes, especially with its immaturity. Yeah, exactly, with its immaturity and its crazy characters.
Yeah.
But behind those crazy characters, there's obviously lots of thinking behind the writing and even some meaning to the show, right? So that's why I think it's pretty good. I don't know if everyone thinks that, obviously, when they think Rick and Morty, meaning or solid writing, but Dan Harmon clearly knows what he's doing with that. Do you have any news?
Yes, I do. I have one big piece of news that I saw. So Sunday there was a trailer for a GI Joe spin-off movie. I mean,
Saw
like,
that.
I'm
I
sure you
noticed
saw
that,
it.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, like, I thought the first two films, like, they were stupid as hell. But I mean, like, I was like, I don't know. I mean, it was like 8 years old when I first saw them,
Right.
right? So I mean, like, they hold like somewhat of a special place in my heart, right?
Yeah.
It's just what I used to like as a kid. So I think it's got a decently it's got a decent cast. I mean, like, you've got obviously Henry Golding in the main role of Snake Eyes. That's the big draw, I think. You know, I liked him in Crazy Rich Asians, you know, and he was okay in fucking what's it called, Last Christmas with Amelia Clark. But he was also very good in this other great film that not a lot of people talk about anymore, and that was A Simple Favor. It's a great whodunit type of film. But
Okay.
I mean, I'm interested to see what happens with this. I mean, I know it's not going to be very good.
Right.
I mean, because it's a G.I. Joe movie. Like, what do you expect? You know, I'm not expecting anything Oscar-worthy, but I hope it can at least be fun. Or at least in the realm of so bad it's good.
Right, for sure.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I'll go into my piece of news.
Alright.
So I'm not sure if we talked about so there Knives Out 2 keeps getting big
Yes.
stars added to it.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if we talked about
Leslie Odom
Catherine.
Jr., right?
I was going to talk about, but
Yeah.
did we mention Catherine Hahn yet on the show? I don't think we have.
I don't know
might
if
as
we
well
have, yeah.
might as well go ahead and mention that she's been cast in the show. I think it's a pretty fun casting choice for sure. You know,
Well, I guess we know who the
she
villain
def-
is.
Yeah.
Agatha.
Yeah.
all
Was it Agatha all
along.
along? I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe Ryan will. Well, what does he do? He subverts our expectations.
Yeah.
As he always does.
No, that is true, actually. Yeah.
You know, who knows? Maybe it's Leslie Odom Jr. We'll have to find out. Who knows? Maybe it's
guess we will
Dave
have to find
Bautista. There's a lot of people it could be. Maybe
my
it's
God.
Benoit Blanc, but he's going to be in the next one, so
Yeah.
it'd be very interesting to take that turn in the second one. But
Yeah, exactly.
if anyone would do it, it would be Ryan
Of course,
Johnson. You know,
Ryan Johnson, yeah. Hated by the Star Wars fan base, but definitely a very creative mind.
yeah,
that is
very
for
creative director. You know,
Yeah.
somebody who really wants to stick out, and I think he definitely succeeded at that, especially
Yeah.
with the Star Wars movie. You
sure.
know,
Of course.
very much divided. Next piece of news: Mary
Yes.
Elizabeth Winstead, who I know mostly from Scott Pilgrim. I think she's
Yep.
pretty great in that. She's going to star as an assassin in a Netflix action thriller called Kate, in which she's playing an assassin who discovers she's been poisoned and has, I think, 24 hours to kill the person who poisoned her. And that's kind of the premise. It sounds like a little bit of a fun, you know, kind of action movie.
Yeah.
You know, I think she fits the role from, you know, obviously I think she's pretty good in Scott Pilgrim. She was in Swiss Army Man
Yes.
very shortly. She was still pretty good in that, and I think she
Sorry.
it makes a lot of sense for her to take that kind of role. I think it'd
Sweet.
be kind of cool.
Well, I had one more piece of news, like before, like you get into
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so there is talk of a new Batman animated series coming
Yeah,
out.
I actually heard of that too. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's kind of cool. I mean, like, I love the original, you know, Batman, the plainly titled Batman, the animated series, like,
Yeah.
from the 90s. Like, I used to watch that all the time on, like, Teletoon and stuff like that, Cartoon Network. It's just a really fun show. I mean, like, I hope they bring Kevin Conroy back, obviously, because
Right.
I think he's probably, like, one of the best Batman, you know?
hmm
Yeah, he's just an incredible voice actor, so it'd be nice if we got him back, you know? So I guess we'll see where they take this series in, like, a direction, right? I mean, because we've seen a few, like, animated iterations of, like, the Batman, like, since that series has obviously come out, you know?
Yeah.
Like, Kevin Conroy has returned for a lot of them, but we've also seen some other actors take the helm. I think, if I'm not mistaken, one of the guys from Supernatural was in this recently released
Right.
DC animated movie, and he was Batman, so I heard he was decent in that, so... I don't know. Whoever they get, if it's not him, I'm sure it'll be alright. Because the DC animated universe has actually been like way better than the DC extended universe, surprisingly. I don't know if you've noticed that, but those anime
I
movies...
definitely haven't really watched enough to
that's
say that. For
No,
sure.
that's fine. I mean, like, the shows are pretty good. I mean, like, even
Right.
the directed DVD movies are like pretty solid as well,
Mhm.
which is really strange to think about. But anyways, I don't want to spend too much more time on that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I only got a couple more things. I got
Alright.
there's going to be a Nola Holmes sequel. I don't know if I mentioned Nola Holmes. This film I kind of enjoyed. I liked it.
Does it really
you know.
need a sequel?
I didn't think it was necessary, but I think it's definitely something that, you know, Netflix is definitely banking off a
Yeah,
little
of
bit. I
course.
think it succeeded, you know.
It's fucking Henry
And I
Cavill.
think, you know, and it's going to be the same writer-director as well, so I'm not expecting anything new, but it might be something I can enjoy, but I don't know if I'll just end up checking it out, though I enjoyed the first one.
Yeah.
The Northman, one of my most hyped movies of this year, unfortunately is going to be next year, has been delayed to, it's set, Focus Features set the date for April 8th of 2022.
Okay.
a bit disappointing. Also shows it might not be an Oscar player considering the release date. Most of the Oscar plays are released around November, the winter, fall dates. But who knows? Maybe it's so good that people can't deny it now. That's kind of what I'm hoping, especially with Robert Eggers. You know, The Lighthouse, The Witch, both are very good movies. Yeah. Ones I'm already looking forward to watching again, but I'm definitely looking forward to seeing his newest. For sure.
All right.
Wes Anderson's apparently planning to start the making of his next film. We're still waiting for French Dispatch. Should be released in July, but he's starting to also film his next film in Spain apparently during this summer. So it feels
that sounds about right.
Yeah, it sounds about right.
I was gonna say, I mean, Wes Anderson, he's such a whimsical dude. Honestly, like. Everything about his movies it screams hipster vibes to me, and I love it. It's such an amazing aesthetic, especially with all the symmetrical shots. He's probably one of my favorite directors, to be honest.
Yeah, I think I would agree with that as well.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do last piece of news that I found very interesting.
Okay.
Bong Joon-ho, obviously, when you hear that name, you gotta listen.
It's quality.
Obviously coming off his Best Picture win for Parasite, He's been in talks to do a lot of potential projects. There was obviously that Parasite series he was apparently going to help produce with Adam McKay. Don't know why he's working with Adam McKay personally, but it makes some sense. I don't think he can ruin Bong's vision. Obviously, I can see where they would agree. They have the only thing I could think to connect them is they have similar political views, and I guess Bong wanted to go with HBO, and Adam McKay has worked with HBO on things like Succession, which is apparently a pretty good show.
Yeah.
Despite, he works on it, not somewhat despite, because he works as an executive producer. He also directed the first episode, which I think is fine, but I think the rest of the series will be better. But it kind of put me off of watching the whole thing. He has said there will be potential Parasite sequels, not in using the same characters, but kind of the same elf of kind of a steady of the rich versus the poor in some kind of way. Apparently one of them is supposed to be based on a true story, but he's also been announced to do something new. He's also planning to do a horror film, but apparently a new project he's planning to direct also is a animated film. It's a Korean one, and it's supposed to be set in the deep sea, so it's supposed to be like some kind of aquatic adventure.
Potential Atlantis: The Lost Empire sequel?
I don't know.
I'm joking.
I don't know. We'll definitely have to see, but I think that's a very interesting thing for him to take on for sure.
No, that sounds great. I mean, I honestly, I love that guy. He's such an amazing director. I mean, I've seen some of his other films. I mean, I don't know if you saw what's that. There's Host. That's a really good one he did as well. It was like one of his earlier films that was about like that.
Yeah, I think the horror movie project he's going to do is going to be somewhat like the Host. I could see the Deep Sea one also being kind of like the Host.
Cool.
For sure, and sounds interesting.
All right.
Next we're gonna do our trailer reaction.
Ooh, yeah.
And then I think I want to actually switch up our mic setup and try something different, because I think we might be a little weak in the mic. But I think they can still hear us. But I want to try to see if I can connect my mic to this. Also get a charger, because this thing might die if we continue to do this. But anyways, before that, we're gonna watch the Dear Evan Hansen trailer. It'll be on your screen, but we're gonna watch it on this screen right here. So let me pull that up.
Dear Evan Hansen, today is going to be an amazing day, and here's why.
Have you been doing those letters to yourself with Dr. Sherman?
I've been trying to. Have you ever felt like nobody was there?
No one signed your cast. Now we can both pretend we are friends.
I'm sorry about my brother.
Have you ever felt forgotten in the middle of nowhere? I wish everything was different. Wish I was part of something. Wish that anything I said mattered. Have you ever felt like you could disappear?
Dear Evan Hansen.
Yeah, that's mine. I'll just take it. Wait, I need that back. Like you could fall, and no one would hear. Connor took a letter from me, and it was an assignment from my therapist.
Ew.
Even when the dark comes crashing through.
Connor's mother and stepfather are here to see you.
When you need a friend to carry you.
Connor wanted you to have this.
And when you're broken on the ground.
Dear Evan Hansen, he wrote it to you.
His last words, Connor took his own life.
Hey, what? I'm sorry, Connor didn't write this.
No, please. It says,
you will be found.
We didn't think Connor had any friends.
I mean, you really gonna tell these people that the only thing they have left of their son is a letter that you wrote to yourself?
So, you and Connor, tell us something, please.
Right. I started talking and you couldn't stop. They didn't want me to stop.
I'm putting together a memorial service. If you wanted to do something.
Connor showed me that I wasn't alone. Nobody is. So let that lonely feeling wash away. Maybe there's a reason to believe you'll be okay.
I didn't know that you were hurting.
'Cause when you don't feel strong enough to stand,
A lot of people feel like us.
you can reach out your hand.
People started sharing it. It's everywhere.
I don't understand what happened.
You did.
You don't know how much you've given my family and me. Were you ever actually friends with him?
I never meant to make it such a mess. I was trying to help. If you knew who I am, just how broken I am.
I already know you. And I love you.
I have to tell them.
I'm curious to hear because you've never heard of Dear Evan Hansen.
Well, no,
Not
I
much
think
before, or a
it
little bit.
sounded familiar.
Right,
yeah,
yeah.
I mean, like I think that's what it was. Yeah, I knew it was a musical. I didn't know a ton about it, but man, that actually looks really good. I would I would totally be down to see that. I would love
Yeah.
to watch that film. That was a great trailer.
Yeah, for sure. I'm definitely.
Yeah.
I think the trailer did a good job at being enticing for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Steven Chbosky's a good director. I think he definitely isn't nearly as technically enhanced as some of the masters like Fincher
Yeah.
or anywhere close to that. But I think he does have a better understanding than most directors of young people, especially with which are pretty much all of what his films have covered, and also his big book being Perks of Being a Wallflower, which he did do a pretty good job of translating to the screen. There has been a couple of things, including, so I don't know if you noticed, Ben Platt, he's been playing this character for a long time.
Oh, he's the guy off Broadway.
Yeah, he's the Broadway. He was the one who played it on Broadway.
Isn't he also in Pitch Perfect?
I don't know.
Because he looks familiar, honestly. Like
He might have been. I'm not sure. I'll have to double check.
Yeah.
But he is 27 years old now. There has been some complaints that he is like a little too old for the role. I personally definitely noticed it in the trailer.
Yeah.
How much he kind of sticks out, especially compared to the other. Obviously, they're not. Most of them aren't teenagers, but compared to the more younger looking people, he does kind of stick out.
No, that's fair.
In the way his makeup or whatever was done.
I mean, it could be worse.
but-
It could be like the teenagers on like 13 Reasons Why, man. Like half those are like just models, like in their 30s.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's but obviously they wanted him to still have the role, and he wanted to still have the role because it really is pretty much his role. He's a big reason of why the show was such a success. So obviously they kind of wanted to bring him into the movie version. And while he maybe does stick out compared to obviously like Caitlin Denver, I don't know if you saw Amanda Stolberg, she's in The Hate U Give. Obviously they look a lot more like teenagers than he does, but I think the movie looks solid. It's going to be interesting. Also, people have some problems with the subject matter a little bit, thinking that some of this more uplifting nature of you can find someone, you're not alone kind of thing is kind of construed with the more darker and maybe potentially wrong things that Evan does in the musical, and I guess will be doing in the movie. But yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to it. It'll definitely be something I will be willing to check out. And yeah, the music apparently is very good. It's from the songwriters of La La Land and Greatest Showman. So
Okay,
they're
well,
probably
I'm
gonna write
not
it
worried about the music then, if that's the
Yeah,
case.
I don't think.
yeah.
I think the music will be the least controversial thing.
Yeah.
So I think that will be something
I
that everyone agrees.
The Greatest
is very
Showman
good.
especially had like the movie itself was kind of mediocre, but the thing
Yeah.
that obviously that stuck out was the musical numbers. Dude, they
Yeah.
slapped. Honestly,
I think the musical numbers were pretty good. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to it. Next, I had us plan to do a tier list, but first I want to switch up the mic setup, like I said before.
No worries.
Let me do that. Do our tier list, and I decided we're gonna do a tier list about Breaking Bad characters, and we're gonna put them in a tier list.
I haven't seen that show for a while, man. Fuck. I should watch it again.
Yeah. There's a Cars of the Breaking Bad universe tier list. Maybe we'll have to do that in the future.
Well, it makes sense. Dude. The Pontiac Aztek is obviously the best one.
I don't remember any of the cars. I'm not really a
Yeah.
car person.
That's okay. It's like Walter White's ugly car. Enjoy it.
That one?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's pretty iconic though.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, we're in presentation mode now. Yeah. Yeah, we're starting with Jesse, so
S.
I think it's pretty
Easily.
much close to S.
Yeah.
I don't think we have any debate there. He was obviously one of the main characters. He's a pretty great character.
Yeah, I mean, he's such a breakout character that he even
Yeah.
got his own fucking movie.
Yeah, for sure.
So, I
And
mean,
you know, they were planning to like potentially kill him off at the end of season 1. I don't know if you knew that at
Really?
first. Yeah, when they first like had the idea of the show and the character, they were thinking it'd only be one season. But once they saw what Paul was able to do with the character, they were like, well, at least keep him around for longer. And of course, he continued to impress, and obviously, he became a staple of the entire show.
Yeah.
I can't remember exactly what his name is. It's the Skylar boss, former boss / boss during the show. Do you remember his name?
I can't remember, man. Jeez.
I don't know.
I mean, if we can't remember him, we must not be very memorable.
Ted's his name. He's okay. He's fine. But in the context of some of these other characters, he's kind of weak. Let's say C.
Yeah.
Hank. What do you think about Hank?
Ooh, I mean, he makes terrible jokes. He's definitely
Yeah.
But he is also a very incompetent DEA agent. He doesn't know his own fucking
I don't
brother-in-law
know
is a drug lord. Like
I don't like. I think there's an argument to be made that he's actually pretty good. He was the only one who's been like, as he multiple times in the show, he's ahead of the other people of the DA on just general cases, right?
Yeah.
So it shows he's not incompetent.
No,
right?
I'm just saying in that regard, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
and obviously there's the irony the entire time that, you know, Walter's under his nose the whole time being his brother-in-law.
Yeah.
But, you know, the realization they have him make in the show, I guess we're spoiling it a bit, but that, you know, that when he figures out Walter is indeed Heisenberg, it makes enough sense, and it shows like that it was difficult to come to that, and it wouldn't have been easy to figure it out, right? Like the way he makes that conclusion is a way that you can't imagine an average person could do. So he's clearly smart, and you know, like you said, he does make bad jokes, but I think in a lot of ways he is an admirable character because he's a good guy in like an anti-villain world, right?
No, that's true. Actually, I will give you that. Like, he's the only really solid character on the show. Who's just
right,
like
and obviously they're saying like he's a little bit sexist sometimes, even
Yeah.
like racist. But at the end of the day, he is kind of more fighting for good than Walter is in a lot of ways. So I think he's still a pretty good
I think
character.
he's an A.
He's an A. Yeah.
Solid character, man.
We got his Gomi, his partner.
He's I don't
he's
remember
pretty good.
too much of him.
He's pretty good. I think he has better jokes than Hank does, and you know he's a pretty nice. He's a good character to have alongside him. Kind of, you know, keeps like kind of steadies Hank in some ways because he kind of goes all by himself, but he's like kind of what makes sure almost keeps him at ground level sometimes. And he's a good friend and a companion for him in that way. I think he's B.
Yeah.
We can stay with
That's
that.
fair. Yeah.
This is Pete. I don't remember something Badger and what's the other guy's name? Or is this Badger? I don't remember. The two are kind of interchangeable.
Yeah. So if they're interchangeable, that kind of doesn't mean like they're the strongest characters. I mean, they are still kind of funny.
Yeah.
But, I mean, they're not the most.
Yeah, I don't think it was probably a mistake to bring them. Most people, I think, consider them a mistake to bring them back in the El Camino movie. I don't know if you agree with that.
I think so. Yeah.
So am I either thinking low B or high C? I think they're not bad.
I think let's just go a little B. Actually, no, yeah, only because they're funny. You know, I think if they had like
Low B.
at least they have some personality to them.
For sure.
Yeah.
Gustav Fring, he's S, I think.
Ooh,
especially once you get to Better
yeah.
Call Saul, especially, but just in both.
Yeah,
he's amazing.
Giancarlo Esposito is such a.
He made the role iconic.
I know,
and I
right?
think obviously that has a lot to do with the writing, but also just he himself. Obviously, they care a lot about him as a villain. They had a whole show dedicated to some of his background. It's especially in season 4, it's a really good setup to the next episode where he fights the cartel and or takes over the cartel in that scene. It's very much a very good parallel and setup for that. And just as a character, he obviously has that very iconic, very almost crazy death, right?
Yeah, where he gets half his face blown off.
Right, and he's still walking, right? Obviously that's very unrealistic, but it kind of just adds to the almost sheer power of this character that even while blown up, he kind of wants to go out with dignity and with the respect to anybody, right? The other guy, Badger, I think I kind of like him a little less because I think he's less funny from what I remember. But I think we can still put him low B. I don't think I don't got much to say about him. Skylar. So I think this is maybe one of the more divisive characters because I know, seeing some of the IMDb reviews, people think that she's just a bad character overall. I would disagree personally. I think while she may not be as strong as Jesse, or I guess Jesse's maybe the easiest comparison because she's also kind of the closest thing to a lead, other than of course Walter. I think she obviously has some moments, but you can kind of understand her character. Yeah. And the stresses that she goes through. You can imagine how would a wife react if her husband all of a sudden got cancer, didn't know about it, and then he starts dealing drugs, and having all this little revealed to her as also there's a lot of chaotic moments where he gets can't explain what's going on with him, and then once he explains it all, you can kind of you understand the choices she makes, right? But also the kind of the almost depression and anxiety she goes through while knowing that any day that Walter could die because of the business he's in, but also that could also affect her and her kids because obviously he cares about both her kids and obviously Walter, right?
I personally think she's alright. I mean, like you said, she reacts kind of how exactly you'd expect. I mean, I get that, some people may not like that because, I think she's being a bit too, melodramatic.
Yeah,
but, I mean, how would you react if a family member was a drug lord? I mean,
she's put in a very awkward position, I think, writing-wise, and I think they do a pretty good job with her considering all that. So I think she's still an A.
Yeah, I think she's an A, too.
Yeah. Walter Jr., Flynn. Again, he's always there because he's Walter's son, but he really doesn't get any moments to himself at all. Even though he's obviously been a staple of the show, there's nothing. He never gets to really do anything, right? Yeah. So for that reason, I think he's not A. So I think high B is a good idea because he really doesn't get to do much. Which I think somewhat is good, but I think there could have been opportunities to have him do a little more than he did. But
does he have
obviously
polio or something in the show? I can't remember exactly what he has.
I believe. Cerebral palsy.
Yeah, that was it. Okay.
Yeah. Oh man, his name is slipping away from me. And I should know it better because he's a good amount. He's in Better Call Saul a good amount. He's speaking there. He's not. He explains how he got to the position he is in Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
Hector Salamanca.
Yeah, he's pretty sick.
I don't know how much we want to take in the idea, context of Better Call Saul, at least my context, because you haven't seen it.
Yeah.
In the show, he's still pretty good. He's obviously part of that big key moment. And, he's obviously very smart. You can kind of see them, but he's also just always frustrated that he can't do anything because of, his clear physical disabilities. But he's also he gets a couple moments to shine as a clearly smart character that helps cause more chaos within the scenes and makes them more interesting overall. So I think he's low A, especially I think we want to take Better Call Saul in a little bit because it definitely
it connects to the series
because the fact that they chose these specific characters to bring into Better Call Saul shows that they're interesting, and Vince Gilligan and Peter Gould knew that they could do a lot with them. Yeah, and I think low A is a good way to go with that. It's been a few since the girl Jesse's longtime girlfriend in the show.
Yes.
Cannot remember her name.
No, I mean, I think it kind of speaks for itself.
It does speak a little bit again, yeah. I think she does get maybe just as... I think she's B. I think she gets about the same amount of character as someone like Pete and those other two. But, yeah, she doesn't get too much to do. And she clearly has a little more personality than you think for your average sort of girlfriend character that kind of disappears.
Yeah.
And I think she has more personality than the other girlfriend that Jesse has later on.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think she's B. I can't remember. Linda, I believe, the woman who works for Madrigal, who knew about Gus Fring's operating. I haven't gotten the full experience of her because I'm assuming she's a pretty... Like, I know she gets introduced in season 5, and I haven't finished that yet. She's okay right now. She's definitely weaker, though.
Yeah.
She hasn't done too much. She's just kind of been a way for the writers to kind of move some parts of the story. She's sort of like the very, very much toned down version of Fring at this point, being kind of the person who helps all the business stuff happen. In that way, it's a little bit impressive, but I think this is a character weak enough to go and see.
Yeah.
I think, but definitely not bad. I don't know if we're going to end up putting any of these characters in D because they have obviously more of the main characters. There are probably a couple characters you could put in D.
Yeah.
They're pretty even more minor than these. Marie, I know she's also a character that not a lot of people love, but I think she does get more things to do. I think than even Marie, Hank's wife.
Oh yeah.
Marie.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So yeah, there's this specific moment that stands out to me where she kind of has, in response to kind of Hank's breaking down of after he gets shot there and he's bedridden and trying to learn how to walk. She's kind of goes through a phase where she's kind of in a pretty anxiety filled place where she like ends up going to like house sales and like stealing stuff. And like it's something you could imagine a person doing, and I think it brings a lot more interest into her.
Something like that.
Yeah, exactly. And and again, she's again a very much kind of similar to Skylar in some ways. It's like how would you as a wife of a DA agent who's involved in all these dangerous things, almost dies, all of these things. How would you respond? You can kind of imagine that as well, right? As a result, she doesn't get to do much, and again, she's also a little more melodramatic. But also, she does have a clear, almost annoying personality, but like that works as being a character, right?
Yeah.
As overall in the show. So
and I think the only reason why she'd be annoying is because she cares a bit too much.
Yeah. And
but I think
there's
nothing wrong with that though, because I think that's
Yeah.
what it's a good representation of what family's like.
Yeah. Sometimes, you can't always like them. Sometimes they're always a bit annoying. Sometimes.
Yeah, I think you know that better than anyone, Danielle. So I mean,
that's a weird thing to say.
Yes.
But,
well, cue clips of him yelling at his family. No, I'm joking. It's fine. It happens.
I don't know where those are all gone. Footage not found.
Footage not found. Yeah.
Footage not found. So no, I'm thinking high B or low A. I know. I think.
I think let's just go high B. I think yes.
Yeah.
Maybe she could have if she could have done just a little bit more instead. Because it's a good storyline she had.
Yeah.
I just don't know if it warrants her going
being
all the way to
A.
an
Yeah.
A. Yeah.
Jimmy or Saul Goodman.
Well, I think if we're taking Better Call Saul, it's got to be close to S, to be honest.
He would be S if Better Call Saul, but let's keep it a little more in Breaking Bad.
Okay, fine. Yeah.
Because I think in Breaking Bad he's not nearly as. First of all,
he's more comedic relief in that show.
He's a good character. He clearly has personality. He works for the show a good amount of times. Doesn't do too much. He does a lot more, obviously, because he's the main character of Better Call Saul. However, he was also a lot less. You can't empathize with him pretty much at all in Breaking Bad. You can empathize with him a lot.
Yeah.
In Better Call Saul, which is how I've kind of empathized now because I watched Better Call Saul first.
Yeah.
But yeah, I very much noticed in the show he's even more of a scumbag. You can then he ends up sort of like he's obviously has a couple scumbag moments in Better Call Saul, but he's even more so like he feels like he has a lot less dignity here. For that reason, I don't know. I definitely can't do S.
Well, I guess because Better Call Saul is more like a prequel series, right? I guess this is kind of because Breaking Bad's like after he's kind of done this transformation into Saul Goodman completely, right?
For sure.
Yeah, I guess that's why he's a little bit stacked, but still, I think he's definitely like those moments of comedy that he brings to the show. It's a good way to give some levity because the show does deal with a lot of pretty crazy subject matter,
Yeah.
you know. So I think it's a good, you know, mental break every once in a while, just to have him pop on the screen, do something stupid, right? So,
All right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think low A.
Yeah, I think that's fine. Low A. Yeah.
Jonathan Banks, who plays Mike Ehrmantraut.
Yeah. Well, if we're also taking into account Better Call Saul here,
He's
obviously
pretty
not too
great
much.
there. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he's probably better than Saul in Breaking Bad. But I think, and he's almost as good as Jimmy in Better Call Saul, or Saul Goodman, Better Call Saul. He's about, I think he's about the same in that show, honestly, because he brings a lot of levity into the drama into that show.
Yeah.
Obviously, it is mostly about, you know, Jimmy, and he obviously has better moments, but for being less, I think Mike does a lot more sometimes. So I think he's definitely worthy of an A. Don't know if I can go S, though. I think he's high A. I don't know. He could be S in some ways, I think.
I think high A is probably a little bit better. Just
Yeah.
because, I mean, like, cause, we don't want to take into, like you said, don't want to take into account Better Call
Yeah,
Saul
too
so
much.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen clips of him and how badass he is in that show, so I mean,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I'm sure if we...
But he's also pretty, you know, ruthless and
Yeah.
badass.
Sure.
Breaking Bad. I think he works better overall.
Yeah.
But he also has some Better Call Saul time.
Shoot, we're done. Okay.
No, we got two more.
Oh, jeez, I can't even
Yeah,
see
the
this
lighting's not great.
Yeah, it's okay.
I'm trying to remember what his name is. It's the drug dealer guy from the first season, the crazy one. I feel like his name starts with an... No, that's Hector. And then again,
Maybe it's not good.
Yeah,
We can't remember his name.
he's pretty, but I think I definitely remember his moments. Again, sometimes names matter, but like his name doesn't get mentioned too much, and I think he's also like in the show he definitely works. He very much brings it into the dark, kind of helps it, like, you know, realizing this world is truly scary when a guy like Tuco Salamanca, when a guy like Tuco can be in it.
Yeah.
So I think he works pretty well that way. So I don't think he's C.
B?
I think he's higher B. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's fine.
And then, of course, last but not least, definitely not least, Walter White.
Yes, easy.
Yeah.
I think he's obviously the best character. He's a central character.
I think my favorite character is Gus. Not gonna lie.
Oh,
Especially
really?
with Better Call Saul, I think he's my favorite character.
Okay,
even
I
in
would-
Breaking
yeah.
Bad, I think I could argue for Gus.
That's fair enough. I mean, I think Gus is probably my second favorite character, though. I think I just love John Carl.
I think
he's fantastic.
Yeah, I think Gus is my favorite character
Yeah.
overall. I think, you know, but obviously Walter White's iconic. Bryan Cranston brought a lot
Also,
to that character.
I love that line. You know, I am the one who knocks. It's
yeah.
iconic stuff, man.
Yeah,
honestly,
and
like,
obviously
yeah.
it's a great combination of writing and acting. Obviously, you know,
Yeah.
Bryan Cranston brought a lot to the character, made it, you know, he makes the whole show, you know, he carries it from day one until the end. And,
Yeah.
you know, obviously there's lots of great supporting characters, lots of great writing, lots of great
Yeah.
direction, but it is really about him, and, you know, he makes that show what it is.
Mhm.
So, yeah, that's our tier list. Tell us, guys, if you agree with it or not. You probably don't.
Yeah.
It's normal.
From what I hear, you guys never agree with us. So I mean, but of course, you know, it is purely subjective, right? What are you gonna do? Very much.
Yeah.
So maybe we should leave that one to the end.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you want to talk about the worst one first? Let's talk about the better one. We're gonna end on a little more of a sour note when it comes. So I've watched the film. I watched Promising Young Woman twice, right? I mentioned that. And I'm just curious what my notes are. The cinematography is okay. I compared it to 7, and I still agree with that.
What, Promising Young Woman?
Yes.
Yeah.
I do. I think it is in a good amount of ways, because the cinematography, from a cinematography standpoint, from what I remember, 7 was very much chaotic, but also clearly had some of Fincher's, like, you know, a lot of his, you know, normal still shots, and very controlled. And I think Emerald Fennell had a good amount of that as well, but also she clearly had a little more of a more chaotic style. And I think David Fincher definitely had a more chaotic style back in something like 7.
Yeah.
And I think the story can be compared to, except I compared it to, we're in John Doe's perspective, except I think this is a, you know, kind of a goal that more people can agree with, rather than killing people to show how the world's so sinful.
Oh, fair enough.
But in a way, it is that, because she's kind of or at least she's not killing anybody, but she's putting people
who like
very
take advantage of
tension-filled situations. That kind of show their wrongdoings, especially when it comes to, which the main thing in this is sexual assault, which, if I don't know if you noticed, they never mentioned the word rape in this movie.
Yeah.
I think that was a very intentional choice to kind of also kind of show that what they're talking about the whole time.
Yeah.
Right, but then also you kind of want to you don't also want to think about, and also these characters don't want to say the words, right?
Yeah.
And neither does Cassie.
Well, obviously, because it's a little bit too painful for them to say the word.
Yeah,
rape,
for
right?
sure.
It definitely makes sense. I think that was a good choice. I also I don't want to skip too far ahead in the film, but my favorite part was the twist ending. I did like that.
Yeah,
that's pretty sweet.
I
didn't expect her to die though, because I thought she was she's gonna come out on top in the normal way, but then they completely subvert expectations.
Right.
Oh, you may want to put a spoiler on this.
Yeah, for sure. I'll
just in case.
Yeah, I'll be putting a spoiler on it. But yeah, it's been out for a good amount of time though. So you can watch it.
But still,
for sure. Yeah, I think the ending for me the second time. I think the second half works for sure better. But especially the first 3 scenes upon rewatch are very slow, and I don't think very well directed. And I've noticed throughout, and what I kind of have more complaints about watching it a second time, is that the technical aspects, I think, are a little more wonky than I felt like last time, because I wasn't into the film as much.
Yeah.
And I think a good amount, I don't think the film's technically strong enough to get you in on multiple watches, personally, for me. The first time, obviously, they do a great job building up the tension and mystery. I think and I think it definitely works for sure in the second half.
Yeah.
And again, that twist, I think is good.
Yeah.
But I think there is a few more ways that it could have been approached that could have been better. And also, I think lots of people see that twist as maybe a bit hypocritical, almost, of the script. I heard there has been a couple of complaints specifically about the idea that she's kind of relying on the police to execute, make sure that verify all their evidence and arrest these guys, while often people complain about police not being too idle in these kind of cases, not really committing to making sure that these cases are
I can
fully
understand
thorough.
that point. I mean, because in real life, obviously, it's not like this fairy tale ending for so many women, unfortunately. It's just it happens too often.
But then again, you can also rebuke that's not really a fairy tale, because she dies, and
if it was a perfect ending, she would have lived and she would have given her evidence to the police. But unfortunately,
and also another part of the twist is Ryan. I think that was maybe the best part, because especially the casting of Bo Burnham works really well for a character like that, because he's such a likable guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
He seems harmless, right? There's no way he could be involved in any of this, and boom, there it is.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's still something that holds up very well, especially he's such a likable guy. He and Carey Mulligan have very good chemistry, I think. And and while I think also the writing of the dialogue and some of the characters are a bit, I'm trying to remember, they're kind of they're a bit stereotypical, or caricatures in some ways, but I think that works well enough for the film overall. And I think Ryan, Casey kind of get the most. Obviously, Casey gets the most. Carey Mulligan, she's great in this film for sure. 100% deserved her nomination.
That was actually, I think that
I definitely wouldn't have been complaining at all if she won. I think she easily gives one of the best performances of last year. In this movie. So it makes a lot of sense, and I can understand why people think she easily should have won, because some people think she, this movie and her in particular, are just over the moon. And I can 100% agree with that.
I guess it just shows you. I mean, because I know you and we didn't really like her very much in the Great Gatsby movie.
That's because the Great Gatsby is just not good.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I guess it's clear, when she's given a good script, she's fantastic.
Yeah, for sure.
And, obviously, it's not the job of every actor to turn every script they have into gold, but I think she did an incredible job with the screenplay she was given here. She did such a great job.
And I think, again, it's a bit weird to me that this won Best Original Screenplay, thinking about it more, because while it obviously I think it's well written in some ways, but it's also such a thriller, and that's very rarely what it's very much. People were comparing this to Get Out a lot during the award season, it being kind of something you wouldn't imagine, you know, the Oscars nominated
Yeah, of
because it's
course.
like a thriller, almost horror-esque movie. Even though I think there's a good amount of comedy in this movie, and I think that works somewhat well.
Yeah, but in Get Out, there was a lot of comedy as well, especially with Lil Ray
for
Howard's
sure,
character.
especially with Lil Ray Howard's character, which
Yeah.
obviously could have been a really bad character. I think obviously Jordan Peele pulls him off, and I think
Yeah.
Jordan Peele clearly had, I think, a stronger vision overall, especially for every specific scene.
Yeah.
Emerald clearly had a whole vision for the whole the movie as a whole, because I think, especially in that second half, it very much works as a good tension thriller kind of mystery, sort of. But then, again, on rewatch, knowing everything, it wasn't nearly as interesting. It was still, especially in that first half, like I said.
Yeah.
I think those first 3 scenes, once you know everything that Casey's going to do, you're not as interested in, obviously, it somewhat has that for almost every movie, because you already, like, obviously they have to build up the character for people who haven't seen it before. But I think other movies do it in a lot more smoother, well-done way than this one does, I gotta say.
Yeah.
Again, I think some of the technical aspects are a bit wonky. Some of the production, like, while I think some of the costumes, specifically on Carey Mulligan, but just not everyone looks good in this film. Like, makeup's also, like, the nurse outfit, I think, is going to be pretty, bold. I think it's going to be something that's remembered. But
Yeah, man, that's definitely the first thing I remember, especially from the trailer. That was like
Yeah.
one of those more iconic shots, so I mean.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I think the technical aspect and the way, I don't know, this was potentially storyboarded, I felt like some of it felt too storyboarded. It didn't feel, even some of the long takes didn't feel the most thought out or cinematic even.
Okay.
I think while some of the stuff like the costumes, even the cinematography is good, I don't think it meshed together. And then some of the shots felt out of focus.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly, there's this one shot specifically where she's like pretty far in the background, but I don't think they had the focus on her. And some of this I can attribute to, I don't know if I mentioned this again, it was a pretty short shoot. It was like 23 days. It was very much.
Oh wait, yeah,
fastly
no,
done,
you were telling me about that, and the
I
director
think-
was pregnant at the same time.
Yeah, exactly.
so-
And unfortunately, I think some of that shows. But obviously, she still had a very strong and good vision. Obviously, she brought a lot of creativity
Yeah.
to this project. But I'm not sure all of it was executed very well. But I think I'm very excited to see how. I think Emerald can definitely improve.
No, I mean,
off
like,
of
you know,
this
as far as the first time debut, as far as
Yeah.
the first movie goes, it was really good. I was
Yeah.
quite impressed, you know. I mean, like, obviously, like, it's pretty rare to see, like, a first time director handle, a movie so well. I mean, like, I think there's obviously, like you said, there's still room to grow, but I'm excited to see what she does next.
Yeah, for sure.
So, should we do a score, or do you have anything else you want to say quickly? Or?
Yeah, like I said, I think, again, I want to reiterate, Carey Mulligan's great in this film.
Yeah.
Easily could have won
Yeah.
Best Actress. It would have been, again, a bit weird. Again, I want to talk a little more about that end, because, like, you said you loved it, right?
Yeah, I quite liked it, actually.
Yeah. And I think I really liked it the first time. I also think because there's a balance, right?
Yeah.
So it's like the most darkest one, I think some people are even calling for, is that, she gets killed, but then they also get away with it because they're smarter, because they say it was like self-defense,
Yeah.
and they get away with it because they, police and everybody else believe them, right? And obviously her appearing to be a stripper might have helped, things like that would have helped with that. But obviously, it feels like the character's decision, even though it somewhat makes sense considering their state, because they're all kind of hungover, he's kind of traumatized and in a panic, that they make the stupid decision to, like, try to cover it up, which is really a stupid decision, because you could easily argue self-defense. But it somewhat makes sense. But also, I feel like that would have been a little disrespectful to, like, you could have done that, but also I think that would be a little disrespectful to Casey with that whole plan that she set up.
Yeah.
Right? As a character, you think she could do more than just not plan for the idea she might be killed in her, like, because obviously what she was doing wasn't going to be exactly easy, even though she pretty much did everything perfectly up to the point that just the handcuffs broke, which I also thought was a bit dumb.
Yeah.
It just felt a little inexplicable of how that happened. There was nothing to, like, kind of explain that at all. And that's why I think it maybe doesn't make sense. I think even Charles Chicago 7's better overall, better script, even though obviously this has a lot more
I
new
definitely agree in that
ideas.
aspect.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I would have much preferred to have seen that one win the Oscar, but I don't think it was a terrible selection
No,
to have it.
I don't think it
win,
was a
you know?
terrible selection either.
Yeah.
I think Sound of Metal or Minari probably would have my picks before it, for sure.
Yeah.
I like even maybe Judas and the Black Messiah, even though I definitely like the direction more than the script in that movie.
Yeah.
Minari would easily be my pick personally.
Yeah.
I really love that script and that movie overall, but yeah, it feels a bit weird, but it's also not completely unjustified. There's obviously a lot of smart thriller elements that she worked well in with the social commentary, and obviously the Academy seems to be awarding that